Hey, didn't see you there. It's just me and Eric Layden here to talk about minimum wage.
Louis Cruz and Zach Dingy also worked in this project with us.
Correct. What is minimum wage, you may ask? Minimum wage is the lowest permitted by law or by special agreement.
So, for the origins of minimum wage, it was established in 1938 by Franklin Delano Roosevelt, hoping that it would really generate positives for our economy. This was also a time of World War II, so a lot of the money was going towards the military, so he thought that this would really help our economy.
He was a great president. Great president. All right, let's talk a little bit about the minimum wage in New York. In December 31st, 2016, of the last year, it was at $10.50. By this year, December 31st, 2017, it'll be at $12. Next year, we're expecting $13.50. And by the year 2019, we're expecting about $15.
So for the range of minimum wage across the country, the absolute federal minimum for an hourly wage is $7.25. The states that have this minimum wage limit is Iowa, Idaho, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, North Dakota, New Hampshire, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Texas, Utah, Virginia, and Wisconsin. The Midwest states being Wisconsin, Oklahoma, North Dakota, and Idaho, Iowa, and Indiana. The northeastern states are New Hampshire and Pennsylvania, and the southern states are Texas, and lastly, the western state is Utah.
The range of minimum wage across the country, in District of Columbia, it's $11.50. Washington and Massachusetts, it's $11. California, it's $10.50. Connecticut, it's $10.10. And in Vermont, it's $10. Pretty nice range. Pretty nice range over there.
So for pros of minimum wage, we researched and found that it raises and helps job growth. Poverty would greatly be reduced. This is because since there's more money being generated from jobs, people that are at the poverty line would have more money to afford basic things. A reduction in government welfare spending, an increase in economic productivity, drastic income inequality would also be cut down because the wealthy of the wealthy would be still at the top, but the people that are at the bottom would be raised because of the minimum wage increase. An increase in the minimum wage would also help raise and generate inequalities because they'll generate more money because
some more pros of minimum wage would be a reduction in employee turnover. It would allow people to afford more housing. The current minimum blocks people from affording necessary everyday things because it's not a lot of money. But
so for the cons of minimum wage, because with every pro there's also a con, an increase in minimum wage would cause businesses and business owners to lay off workers, which would raise unemployment levels. A raise in minimum wage would increase poverty. A minimum wage increase would hurt businesses and force some of them to close because since minimum wage prices are rising, the business owners have less money to pay the workers, so they have to cut back and cut off some workers. Increasing the minimum wage would create an increase in consumer goods because since these businesses that supply the consumer goods are having to pay their employees more, they need more money to make the goods, so they gotta increase the price of the goods and services. Teenagers and young adults will drastically be cut out of the workforce because since they're the least experienced and job owners have limited spots to hire employees, since the increase would cause them to cut off some workers, they would go for the more experienced and probably the older worker rather than the teenager or young adult.
Some more cons of minimum wage. More business owners would turn to robots to fill the employee's spot, so which will give the employee give less jobs to people in the economy. So another con would be an increase of the minimum wage would drastically proportion the poorer areas in the country. So that's not so good. Raising the minimum wage would also give a disadvantage to the unskilled workers and people with the limited education. So they can't really get a job because of their education is so low and they're unskilled. But it's not good. It's not good.
And then the last slide for cons of minimum wage. It would increase and higher the cost of housing. The free market should determine whether or not the minimum wage should be increased. In this country, we emphasize how the people should do this, people should do that, and there's a lot of scholars out there that we researched that think that the market itself should determine whether or not minimum wage should be increased. It would decrease in employee benefits and decrease in taxes. High school dropout rates would increase and high school enrollment rates would decrease. And last but not least, raising minimum wage would leave business owners no choice but to outsource jobs to foreign countries to keep their business afloat. This is because since they can't afford to pay the American worker the minimum wage rise, they would have to go to foreign countries and get the work from there.
One of the facts about minimum wage is of the 2.6 million hourly workers, 45% of them are the ages of 14 to 16 years old. The following has set up their own minimum wage laws. The District of Columbia, 24 counties and cities, and 29 states. The most amount of employees that receive minimum wage is people in the food or restaurant services. More than 90% of the country in the world have some sort of minimum wage laws.
And that tells that if 90% of the world has a minimum wage law, then it's clearly helping us out.
And going back on one of the cons of minimum wage is about how the place, like an establishment, would take a robot or computer over someone to get their own job. Is I currently
All right, deal.
And so going back on that, there's it's actually, I work at McDonald's over here by the high school, and we're hearing about in McDonald's around here are choosing kiosk stations to take your orders instead of having someone take your order. So that is an example of a robot taking your job that we see in this.
And as another minimum wage worker, I'm all for the higher minimum wage laws. And that's it. That's the end of our video. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Hope you learned. Minimum wage for you. Louis Cruz, Christian Lau, Zach Dingy, Eric Laban.
I hope you learned something. Bye-bye for now.